All right, welcome. So this video is how to transmute sexual energy. This video is going to cover the techniques needed to transmute sexual energy into a powerful super fuel meant to drive you forward in achieving your goals and evolving to the next level of your being. Let us get started. My journey with sexual transmutation is quite a unique one. I went from the depths of a porn addiction to learning the secret techniques of sexual alchemy and mastering the transmutation of this powerful force. I now use this energy in my daily life to build my career and grow my skills as an athlete. It is a force that can be used to boost any and all endeavors, and that's exactly what I've been doing in my life, right? I've been using it to essentially boost or supercharge my ability to progress in every area of life, not just one or the other. I have now achieved a level of mastery over this energy and can direct it wherever I need. This took work and effort to achieve, right? I'm going to start over. This took work and effort. This took work and effort to achieve, however, and is not an easy journey. So that is why I'm here making this video. The goal of this guide is to teach you exactly what you can do to make this process easier and more seamless so that you can begin receiving the benefits of sexual transmutation as soon as possible. So before we start the video, for those of you guys who are serious on your self-improvement and want to take it to the next level, I'm creating a program called the Academy of Self-Mastery. It's going to be a community full of like-minded individuals, people who are taking their self-improvement seriously, people who want to be the best of their best of the best in their specific field. And I will be taking DMs, I will be taking calls within that program, so you guys are able to directly work with me to implement all of the knowledge that I'm teaching you in these videos, as well as there's going to be much more content like this, but deeper, more in depth, and practical guides, practical courses on how to implement all of the different self-improvement habits, all of the different self-improvement areas, right? So I'm going to be talking about topics like habits, dopamine detoxing, routine mastery, mental health, fitness and training, diet, sexual transmutation, and much, much more. So if that's something you guys are interested in, you can access the program early access if you just send me a DM on Instagram. That's the first link in the description. I'm running early access for the program, so those who request early access will get a discounted price when the program goes live, as well as you'll get access to some of the courses for free beforehand. So if that's something you guys are interested in, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram below. So to start, the importance of your sexual energy. Right? This section is the power of semen. So the semen or sexual force is the most powerful energy known to man. It is the base form of all matter. Excuse me. Therefore, it is an essential unit in the act of creation within this world. Without sexual energy, man would not have the power or essence necessary to build or create the technology we do today. Therefore, this powerful yet neglected energy is the foundation of our very development as a species. So it's no wonder that nations fall when they become sexually corrupt. Look at the fall of Rome, for example. It began with sexual immorality, which led to the weakening and loss of integrity and structure within the nation. To learn to maintain sexual control is to learn how to control and direct this human vessel as a whole, right? So just mastering sexual energy in your sexual vessel or the sexual unit within your vessel, you can control and learn to control the entire unit, the entire human being. And that is a very powerful thing to have at your grasp, right? Having full control of your vessel is huge. And to be able to do it by focusing on just one area is also very, very huge. However, sexual energy is very difficult to control. And it will take immense amounts of effort and work to get to the point where you can, but I promise you it is beyond worth it. If there's anybody out there who thinks for some reason that like I have, some level of energy to me, if you think like I'm somewhat successful, if you like listening to my voice, if you think that I can teach a lot, that I'm knowledgeable, if you think any of these things about me, I will tell you that most of it is derived from the fact that I've learned this process and this technique, specifically sexual transmutation. But the sexual energy itself is a powerful substance, yet we waste it without a second thought. This is why humanity is weakening and declining as a species. You can see a very clear correlation between those who indulge sexually and those who begin to decay and get sick as they age. Our vitality is derived directly from our sexual energy. So what importance does it serve for your mind and body? Not only is it a powerful creative force, but sexual energy is the fuel that your body survives on. It hydrates and mineralizes the CSF, which is responsible for keeping your brain hydrated and well nourished. And because of that, it directly affects how well our brains function and how our bodies function as well. So how well our brains and bodies function. You know that brain fog you can't seem to shake? Well, this brain fog is the result of loss of semen and sexual energy. Depleting the semen leaves the brain dehydrated, and as a result, we get brain fog. So what about your low energy? This is due to a loss of semen as well, as it is our main energy source. You may say, no, that's food, but in truth, we eat mostly to sustain the semen. All of the essential vitamins and nutrients required to create and sustain a human body are contained within the semen. And we know this because just one single sperm cell is the blueprint used to create a baby, right? And we have millions and millions and millions of them within that semen. And well, the semen is technically made up of it, right? And so all of this genetic potential is not meant to be wasted by the millions every single ejaculation. It is meant to be retained and held within the body so that the body can use it as fuel, energy to heal, as genetic material to heal with, right? If you can create an entire human being off of one sperm cell, think of what your body can do with millions of them if it was to repurpose them instead of losing it from ejaculation. This makes it one of our most important resources. Like I said, most of the food we eat is there to sustain the semen. And so the semen itself is one of our most important resources, not food, right? But obviously food is very, very important as far as sexual energy goes. And we'll talk about diet in just a second. But so therefore, it is absolutely worth protecting and even cultivating, allowing it to grow and fully develop, expressing itself fully as our inner light, soul, or deepest purpose. So what is the purpose of actually harnessing it? Like, why do we want to harness this energy? When it is left in its base form, sexual energy is pretty useless. Unless used to create a baby, it will stay in place until it is either released or becomes stale or stagnant. None of this we want, by the way. We do not want it to be released. We don't want it to go stale. And if it goes stale and stays stale, it'll eventually become stagnant, which is essentially when it goes stale, it's like, stiff. When it's stagnant, it's like rock hard, if you want to think of it this way. But what this means is essentially it creates density. It becomes pressurized and dense and stuck and trapped and fixated in this one point. And so that's what we feel as this like heaviness in our body that we feel that we need to release this energy, right? When we feel we need to release this energy, it's just because it has developed and become stuck or stale or stagnant rather within, the lower areas of our body. And so we feel this need to just release it out the quickest way possible, which is downwards and out. So from there, lust develops, right? So from here, lust develops. So when we feel the stagnancy, lust develops, and that's our need to release it, or our need to indulge this pleasure, right, sexually, this energy sexually, right? So we feel this lust for the pleasure of indulging this energy, or we feel just a desire to release it because of its heaviness, its density. And so attention in the genitals leaves the individual obsessed with sexuality and self-gratification. But there's another way to deal with this energy. It can be transmuted and sublimated up the spinal column. Once converted into its subtle form, sexual energy can be used in exercise, for work, for creative endeavors, or as a source of energy. This means that truly there is an infinite number of reasons to harness it, as there is an infinite number of uses for it. It can also heal and repair the body and mind, undoing damage from years of abuse to our human system. It can help activate and maintain our higher faculties, and most importantly, it can be used for self-transformation and achieving our highest purpose. It is the energy that we use to drive us towards our highest purpose and achieve our greatest sense of self, right? The full expression of our soul happens when we fully sublimate and transmute the sexual energy. So if all of this is true, if all of what I'm saying is true, why don't more people utilize this power? Why don't more people talk about this? Why don't more people do this, right? The main reason we don't see more people using this gift is just a lack of education. It's not actually in reality that it is so difficult to do that nobody does it. It is actually just the fact that not everybody knows about it, right? Not everybody knows about it in the first place, and those who do don't know enough about it to be able to actually practice it and do it, right? So there's just a lack of education on this topic. Everybody contains this power, yet few are aware that it is a power at all. Most believe sexuality only extends to our carnal desires for reproduction and sexual pleasure. But beyond that, there is a world of potential we are too selfish to realize we command. This energy, though good for us, is very powerful and difficult to control, and for that reason, most will not even try, and even fewer will succeed. But for those who can control it, the sexual energy can grant endless power and expanded awareness, by which we can achieve great success and realize our full potential. But unfortunately, we have been programmed to believe it is a lesser desire, and that it could even be evil, right? True evil comes from the suppression of sexuality and, as a result, the perversion of its power. The overindulgence of sex as a result of our modern understanding of it is the greatest evil that we could ever come to know. All evils are derived from this one misuse of our divine nature, the perversion of sexual energy. So the next section is the process of transmutation. So I'm going to be running you through the process of sexual transmutation. Awareness and breath. The first step to sexual transmutation is control over the breath and an awareness of our body, energy, and mind. And maintaining awareness will help us to see when our energy is getting stuck and to observe when this energy begins to be released. This self-observation, combined with utilizing the breath to direct our flow of energy, can give us full control over the sexual power and be a catalyst for redirecting its energy when it becomes active. So the next part is conscious redirection. Once you've gained awareness of your subtle energies, body and mind, you can begin the process of redirection. Currently, our sexual energy is on a trajectory down and outwards of our bodies, right? So it's going down and then out of our bodies, right? We need it to rise up and inwards, right? So it needs to go in and then up our spinal column, whereas right now it is directing itself down, and the only trajectory from there is out, right? Out physically into just, if you think of like the way we envisioned heaven, or the way I envisioned heaven as a kid, was it's above the clouds. If you think of heaven as up here and everything below it as a descending series of energy, frequency, whatever, but everything lower is descending. And then we get to the ground, the physical plane, dirt, right? And so it's essentially allowing our sexual energy to release itself as like dirt, right? Into the dirt, basically, into nothing, instead of letting it rise to heaven. And inside of our bodies raises us with it, raises our frequency with it. So that's one way to think about it. The real way to think about it is if you become aware of this energy, you will feel the difference. It is either directing itself downwards and out, or it's directing itself up and inwards. And up and inwards means it needs to be expressed through things like your purpose, right? The way I express my sexual energy, one of them is making these videos, right? It is a creative endeavor for me. And that is the expression of this energy. The full expression of this energy is creative endeavors. That's the only other way we release it, unless we release it physically. But this process, it takes longer. You don't get the instant relief, but at the same time, you also don't feel like shit constantly. You don't feel this like low energy, this drained feeling ever, right? You always feel more energized. Every time I complete a task, I feel more energized, and like everything just fuels you to become better. Versus the opposite is true when you're releasing this energy. So the sexual energy in its base form is dense and heavy, which is why it flows down and out. Think of like water vapor. So when water is vaporized, it turns into the vapor. It is a more subtle, more light form, and so it rises up. Once it collects up top, it forms, more dense water droplets. And once it becomes dense enough, once all of this water vapor collects into a droplet, it falls back down. Right? It's the equivalent of comparing your sexual energy to this water vapor rising and then like a rock falling, right? A lot of our sexual energy is in the state of this rock that's just going to fall. But yeah, sexual energy works similar to water, where when it's heated and vaporized, it can rise. And then when it's left to be dense or it's cooled, which means it's suppressed, it stays as just dense water, right? Physical water, solid water. Or liquid water, rather, not solid. So that is why we feel intense sexual cravings, as a means of releasing this energy as it builds up, relieving us of the burden of carrying the added weight. But by transmuting it and redirecting this flow, we can change it into its subtle form, much lighter and free-flowing, which from here can be integrated and fully utilized by us. And one way to think about this as well is, like we think of it as a burden that's weighing us down, right, physically, when it's dense, but when it's released and in its subtle form, you can think of it as it's actually the unit pulling us up, right? We're the denser unit at that point, and so this energy is raising us up and forcing us to be evolved and rise with it. And so just as powerful as the force holding you down is right now when it's heavy and when it's dense, that force will be just as strong in pulling you in a positive direction if you learn to transmute and redirect it. And so the way we do this is by using our awareness of the body and energy combined with the breath to direct and begin to move this energy up the spine, right? So we're combining the breath and we're combining awareness of this energy to redirect its flow. So learning to feel where it is in our body and how it's moving. And then through the breath, create a clean flow through the body. This will be a process, but over time you will be able to convert more and more of this energy, releasing more of it for use as your skill increases, right? So you'll be able to release more of it as you get better at this process. As you begin to feel this energy move, you will begin to feel yourself get lighter and more energetic, right? Sublimation up the spine. Now that you have redirected this energy, it's time to begin transmuting it and sublimating it up the spine. As this energy rises, it will go through multiple stages of transformation before it can reach the brain, becoming more and more pure yet potent at each stage. Each stage will come with its own set of challenges and urges that you'll need to face and overcome to reach the next one. But the basic principle is to transmute the energy so that it can rise. Then, as it becomes stuck, release it using the earlier practices, then repeat. So it'll rise to a certain point, get stuck again just as it did originally, and then you'll need to breathe through that, release that tension point, release that energy node, and allow that energy to move freely and allow it to move through your body again. And then repeat as you let it move again. It's going to flow, and then it's going to get stuck at a certain point. And you need to just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Keep going until it reaches the brain, right? Keep doing this process until this sexual energy reaches the brain. That is where you attain enlightenment. That is where this energy is freed and allowed to be fully expressed through the creative endeavors, through achievement of your purpose. But until then, it's just this process of letting the energy flow, feeling the tension point, letting it flow again. And this is going to take time and consistency, but it will be well worth it in the end. Conversion into gold. Now that you have started sublimating the sexual energy and allowed it to rise up the spine, you can start to convert or transform it into energetic gold. This is the true meaning of alchemy, transmutation of lead to gold, or the conversion of basic sexual energy into light. This light is what will amplify our energetic and magnetic fields, provide regeneration for our minds and bodies, and allow us to manifest or create within this world. The intention is that we use it for our given purpose, the mission we are here to complete. And with this energy, we are equipped with the necessary tools as well as the awareness to go and achieve that purpose. So next is utilizing it in daily life. Once we have converted the sexual energy into gold and begin using it towards our purpose, we get to utilize its greatest gift of all. This energy, once fully charged and ready to be used, can be funneled towards any goal, any desire, and any task or work, and make that workflow much easier while amplifying your results. You can get more done in a shorter period of time and with better quality. Pick something, whether a work task, a workout, or even a bigger goal you have, and begin to focus on it. Not by forcing your attention, but gradually directing your attention towards the thing, then begin engaging. And as you engage, bring your awareness to your sexual energy. At this point in the journey, it should feel like a slight activation or irritation because it needs to be directed somewhere. Then, while working on the task, begin breathing deeply to tap into it. And then start to engage this energy within the task. So what does this actually mean, right? So what I'm doing is I'm integrating the sexual energy that I feel not in my genitals, in my chest, and in my my upper chest and in my mind, and I'm directing it into formulating my words, formulating this video, and basically creating this video, but formulating my words in such a way that I can teach as clearly and concisely as possible, right? And so you can engage this energy with anything that you do, and it will just fuel that task, whatever it is you're working on, right? And so this part you shouldn't have to focus all of your energy or your attention on this energy, right? Focus your attention on the task itself and working through it. But as you do this, more of your energy will be directed to its completion. Then you can simply continue the task until it's done, right? So just focus on the task itself, but take points to become aware of where your sexual energy is. So when I was explaining it, I just did that. And if you tap in with it enough and you get used to this process, like for me, I tapped in with it and all of my energy was exactly where I need it to be, right? All of my energy is flowing in the exact way that I want it to. So I don't need to focus on that so much. I focus on the task, and by focusing on the task, my energy naturally moves in that direction because I've practiced the transmutation, right? Because I've practiced this for so long, I can now direct this energy just by working on what I need to work on. So for those of you who are not there yet, just focus on the transmutation practices, and then we will get into, utilizing it for things like your work, for things like training, right? And so that is the section we're getting into right now, is useful sexual transmutation practices. The basic and most important practices to aid in sexual transmutation are meditation and breathwork. I say the basic practices because these are essential foundational practices. If you're not doing these two, you cannot progress on this journey. Correlating to the main steps of the process, meditation will train your awareness, while breathwork will teach you to control the body and mind through your breath. So just as I said before, awareness and breath are the keys to sexual transmutation. You can train your awareness and your ability to control the breath and direct energy using the breath by practicing meditation and breathwork. This is important as the breath will direct your energy, and if you learn to control it, you can effectively learn to control your whole human system. And meditation will train your ability to become aware and hold your awareness on a certain point, as well as provide a means for observing and seeing your own inner flaws to help you dissolve them, bringing you closer to being able to manage this energy. Pranayama. Breathwork is good, but specifically pranayama breathwork is best for sexual transmutation and semen retention. Pranayama, when broken down, means transformation, yama, of the vital force, prana. Pranayama is the process of converting the vital force through the use of the breath into a more subtle form. This practice can not only make semen retention easier, but it will directly transmute the sexual energy, making it more available to be used by the organism and therefore more benefits. Doing this practice consistently will help to relieve you of pent-up sexual energy, make urges easier to process, and help to convert this energy into its usable form. Now, the next section that I have is self-observation. The next key practice is self-observation. Self-observation is going to be your method to identify urges, find blockages, and catch character flaws that are preventing you from progressing on this journey. You need to learn to constantly practice checking in with yourself, your energy, thoughts, emotional state, the condition of your body, and then using this feedback to adjust and redirect. Self-observation is a very simple but powerful technique for transmuting sexual energy, as semen retention is simply a process of breaking down old patterns and breaking down old egos to recreate and shape them in a higher vision, which all starts with awareness, right? Just becoming aware of these egos and aware of these patterns is key to breaking them. And so self-observation is going to be the first step in any process of breaking any sort of ego or pattern or condition. Next section is inner/shadow work. I just like to call it inner work. Some people call it shadow work. Shadow work sounds too dark. Inner work is just working through the inner aspects of your psyche. And yes, some of them can be really dark, some of them can be rough, but it is necessary that you work through them. So, the deepest aspect of this journey is the inner world it will reveal to you. So your inner world will be revealed to you tenfold when you're practicing this. Some people aren't even aware that they have an internal world. So this practice will help you with that. And with that, new challenges and flawed aspects of yourself will be opened up to you. This is the beginning of your inner work. If you ignore this aspect of the practice, you will find yourself repeating the same mistakes and getting stuck on the same problems. I actually just made a video talking about this. It is a 40-minute video just talking about the inner work aspect, and it's still just an outline, right? This is one of the most important parts of the practice, yet most people completely ignore it, right? So if you ignore this aspect of the practice, you will find yourself repeating the same mistakes and getting stuck on the same problems. You might even find yourself regressing. The self-transformation that comes with this practice is required for making it all the way. You'll need to continuously observe these ordeals as they come up, then use them as your opportunity to change and transform, to become better. And with this, over time, you will find why it is the most powerful aspect of this practice, as you'll begin to grow at a pace well beyond anything anyone else can keep up with, as they are all stuck in their egos. But you are working to transcend ego and become a pure being. And this comes with work, as we are nowhere near perfect beings. In fact, we are heavily flawed. And this work allows us to overcome these flaws, bringing us closer to divinity. So, exercise and purposeful work. When transmuting sexual energy, you'll need to find a good outlet for this power. It will need to flow somewhere, and if not in lust, it needs another option. This is where difficult work and exercise comes in. It serves as a channel to funnel this energy. You need some form of physical exercise to sustain a healthy body, and with sexual transmutation, you will feel that you cannot go without it, right? I get this a lot where, I injured myself on my skateboard a little while back, and I just because I'm injured doesn't mean I can sit still and not do anything. So I would still skateboard, but I just stopped doing tricks, you know what I mean? I couldn't do tricks because I couldn't risk falling. I hurt my wrist, and, just a little personal story, but I've been re-injuring this wrist for about 8 months now. Since last snowboarding season started, I had a couple rough falls, and then the wrist, got a little cooked. And throughout that season, I didn't injure it properly, but I kept falling. Like anytime I'd fall, I'd land on this wrist and just put pressure on it. And then that skateboard accident, I fully landed on that wrist and actually properly hurt it again. So I couldn't do anything that I could risk falling, but I still had to move. I still had to exercise. And it's true. You feel like you can't go without it. You feel like you can't go without any type of movement. And the other thing is I ended up recording more videos because I had the extra time. I needed a different outlet for this energy if it wasn't physical, because most of my day was training before this injury. So if it wasn't physical, it's got to be mental. I got to put out mental energy. So I just started spending more time here, honestly, working. But also I still needed to get in some type of activity every day. So the urge you feel for sex is converted into an urge for achievement, work, and effort. You will find yourself wanting to progress in things more than you did before, right? It will feel like an internal desire. So you will feel this urge inside of you, just as you used to feel for, sexuality and gratification, but to progress and to put an effort towards things, right? Engaging in this work and actively moving your body will not only help you to progress rapidly in these areas, but you will also find yourself managing this energy better and feeling a sense of calm and inner peace. It will also be much less taxing and demanding to work out or complete projects. And you might even find that you get an increase in energy after the fact. So it's not going to be as taxing to do hard work, but actually you get more energy for doing hard work when you're engaging in more difficult things, right? Every time I complete a task for work, I typically get a boost of energy, not during, but after the fact, about 2 to 3 minutes after the fact. So, the last thing, I believe this is the last thing. Yep, the last thing I have here is sexual alchemy. This practice is reserved for those who have advanced in semen retention and sexual transmutation and have learned to clear their own lust and transmute this energy through their endeavors. This practice is a completion of the transmutation process and an amplifier to the power of sexual transmutation. It is the act of engaging in sex with a partner who you intend to become one with, right? That you intend to marry, right? And marriage goes beyond just some paperwork and a giant cake, or a ring, or whatever you want to view marriage as, right? Marriage is going to be spiritual, sexual, and energetic union and physical union with another human being of the opposite gender. I'm not sitting... garbage trucks pulling up. Sorry if you guys can hear that. I'm not hating on anybody for any types of beliefs or any lifestyle choices. However, if you want to transmute sexual energy, any form of same-sex relationships is going to be some form of lust, is going to be a form of lust, because it is unnecessary for the sustenance of life. So you do not need to engage in sex with another man or another woman, if you're a woman, in order to sustain life. And so that indulgence is just a pleasure indulgence. It's a self-indulgence. It is for gratification. And so therefore it is a form of lust. Whether you believe that, you only love of this gender, talking solely spiritually, talking solely about sexual transmutation and purity, it is not a form of love, because love is created by the unification of sexual polarities. So the unification of the sexual masculine and the sexual feminine is what creates universal love. But the feeling of affection towards another being, I'm not arguing with that. I'm not arguing with what you choose to do with your sexual energy. But if you watch this and you want to transmute, you need to understand this part of the practice. It is the sexual masculine and the sexual feminine uniting that creates love in this sense. And so obviously when I say a woman or another being you intend to marry, I mean either a woman if you're a man or another man if you're a woman. But the difference is that there is no ejaculation at any point. So we never lose that sexual polarity. We maintain that polarity, and that's what creates love. That's what creates this powerful force that I'm talking about within these types of sexual relationships. You keep the semen within while working directly with the sexual energy to transmute, sublimate, and transform it to a higher form. This is essentially transmutation on steroids, is what I like to call it. And as somebody who's been practicing this for 2 years now, that is the best way. That is the best way to describe it, is transmutation on steroids. But is something to be careful with, right? Those who are not truly serious about this practice and about this journey should not engage in any form of alchemy. So, for example, I just gave a whole explanation about, same-sex, I'll call them same-sex relationships, but yeah, I just gave this speech about same-sex relationships. Anybody who would have been offended by that, or anybody who would have taken that to offense, or anybody who would have been upset about hearing that, shouldn't be practicing this anyways, because this practice is solely for those who truly want to transmute and transcend this state, who truly want to master this power, this energy, right? So that is why I left it for the end specifically, because I know that not a lot of people are watching this long. So anybody who is, maybe you do deserve and should be hearing about this practice, because clearly you will be taking this seriously enough to eventually get to this point, right? So I left it for the end, as those who truly want to give this practice a go can use this as a tool once ready, right? So once you're prepared for it, this is absolutely something you can look at. But the reason I put it so far in the end is because I know for a fact that there's a certain select group of people that should not be practicing this, but those people won't watch this long anyways. So there you go. This is me telling you, semen retention and sexual transmutation, if done correctly, is for life. Meaning from now until the day you die, if you do this correctly, you will not have another ejaculation. Or at least from the point that you get it. Because from now until the point that you actually get it, you will have many fuck-ups, you will have many mistakes, and it will happen. But once you get it, there will come a point where you will no longer need to release this energy at all, and for the rest of your life. So this is me telling you, semen retention and sexual transmutation, if done correctly, is for life, and can be done beyond this no-fat bullshit that has become a trend now, right? Suppression of the sexual energy is not transmutation. But to learn to work with your energy and transform your very being into a higher form is true sexual transmutation. And so that is all I have for this video. I hope this one was helpful. I hope it was useful. I hope you guys gained some insights from it. If you are interested in joining the Academy of Self-Mastery, send me a DM with the link down below. And for anyone who enjoyed this video and it was helpful, you can leave a like and you can press subscribe if you want to see more content like this. But like I said, I really do hope this was helpful. I put a lot of work into this video. So that is all I have for you guys, and I'm out of here. Peace.